Okay, great. So we're going to get started now with a SenseHR demonstration. So the first thing I want to mention is we have 3 different levels of access with the system. The first level of access is what we call an admin or administrator. And when I refer to admin or administrator, I'm just referring to anyone at your side who is HR directors, or someone who takes on those responsibilities for the business. We will then log into the system as an employee and line manager, just so you get to see what it's going to look like for them as well. They're the 3 different levels of access, but we've also got something that we call access rights. So let's say you have someone in IT and you want IT to be able to update everybody's company equipment, i.e. serial numbers, and view that, but you don't want them to see anything sensitive like bank details or salary. Then using access rights, we can give them permission just to update company equipment, but again, they're not going to see anything else in the system. Now, one of the first things to mention is it's dead simple to log in. It's just sense.hr, that's the same URL for everybody. To get logged into the actual account, it can be an email and password, and that could be a personal email or a work email. To log into the system, you can do this through a laptop PC, or you could do it directly through the mobile app. The mobile app is available on Android and iOS devices, and it's also backdated 7 years on the software on those phone devices as well. If they prefer, they can also use this directly for an iPad or an Android device, depending on their preference. So as long as you have Wi-Fi, 3G, 4G or 5G, then you will be able to access the Sense system. We're a cloud-based product, and we're also iOS 27.1 accredited company. Brilliant. So we're going to get logged in now as the admin. Just a reminder, the admin is the super user, and this is someone who can see and do everything on the system. Now, one of the first things you'll see when we log in is going to be a dashboard, which is a central point of information. And what we've done at Sense is we've designed the system around the dashboards. So when you first log in, you're going to see to-dos. To-dos is anything that you need to complete. So if I was an employee, I would sign a contract of employment from to-dos. If I was an employee, I'd complete an onboarding process from to-dos. If I was an employee, I would complete my performance review from the to-dos. If I was a line manager, then I would approve annual leave, I'd approve overtime, I'd approve expenses. If I was an administrator, I might be reading and accepting new company policies before pushing them live. I could be completing someone's probation review. So anything you need to do, they need to do, always going to fall into a to-do section. We've then also got an activity feed, which is a real-time data feed, and that's making you aware of such things as, do we have any starters? When are they starting? Do you have any leavers? When are they leaving? Has there been any changes made that we need to be made aware of? Is there up and coming birthdays, if you wish to track that type of information? Administrators are employees themselves. They've also got the option to book their own annual leave, but as you'll see through the demo today, you could do this from your calendar, your planner, and the mobile app as well. And we also have other entitlements available with the system. I have a toil balance, and I also give everyone a birthday leave day each year, but that's purely just an example I'm showing today. We then have the option to do a clock in, clock out, and when we do clock in, it will display against the working status, indicating that they're in for the day, and also push a time into their personal planner. We can do this directly through the mobile app, and we do also have our own Sense clocks available. But if it's not something you do as a company, then we can just deactivate that and you won't see that on your system at all. You've then got full visibility of your team and their daily working status. A lot of HR companies are good at telling you who's off, but not necessarily who's in. With Sense, we have both. So we have the holiday and the sickness. We then have the working status, which is dictated from their working pattern. Are they in a training day? Are they on the road, a trade show, working from home? Is their shift completed? You then also got access to insights, and insights are high-level demographic reports, and that's based around your employee data. And we're looking at your staff turnovers, headcount, single-day absences, and outstanding holiday balance. Now, with outstanding holiday balance, that is looking at my calendar year, which I have set in my system as January to December. I'm not worrying too much just yet about the 67%. However, when we get into July, August this year, if I'm still seeing 67%, then I will start posting company news, asking them to get that booked in. But of course, we can now also allow carryover rules into next year as well. You will also see this from the line manager perspective a little bit later on when we log as the line manager. But of course, this will only be looking at the line manager's team outstanding balance, not the whole company. We've then also got things like department location breakdowns, age and gender, nationality, and average length of serving. If you wanted to, you can export all this information directly out the system. But what powers this information is going to be your Active Employees tab. And this is where you would find your active and historical employee data. Now, the first thing to mention is we're going to help you with the implementation. So if you wanted us to, then yes, we can load your core data, historical data, document data into the system for free. Of course, we just need you to complete a couple of actions for us, and some of those actions are generally copy and paste exercises. We have a set of Excel spreadsheets from core data all the way up to salary history. We're going to ask that you go through a copy and paste exercise. You copy the data onto the spreadsheets, send those back to us through a secure file. We'll validate that, and then we're going to load that data into your system. And again, we can load any of that historical data in as well, levers, salary history, job role history, and any documents in there too. Now, in regards to levers, we don't charge you for them, so they're completely free to store on the system. We don't charge you for them, but you can still report information. If they work for you at a later date, then yes, you have the option to rehire them, but we're also recording reason for leaving, file date of employment, would we work that person again? And then we've also got things like GDPR reminders. So when they've actually left the company for so many years, we're going to send you a to-do and an email. Hi there, it's time to delete certain information from that levers record. We've then also got a full filter option across the employees tab, so we could filter out first and last name, but we would really go to town and department location. As an example, I want to see anyone from finance and HR who work in the location of Hull, who are working today, and then that shows when in finance or HR based in Hull that are working, and excludes everybody else from that list. The final pattern onto that is you've also got two view options and how you prefer to see the data. We're looking at a list format now. We do have a card format option. System will then save the preference view, then moving forward. So that would be your historical and active employee data. What about somebody new joining the business? How would you get them into the system? Well, you've got two options. Option number one is you hire them through the ATS recruitment system. You hire them through the ATS and automatically onboard them to Active Employees list. And that's something we can look at a little bit later on. Great, so let's go through the manual onboarding option now. So I'm just going to click on the add option here. And just to manually add someone to the system, as a standard, you'd have two templates to choose from. I'll just quickly explain. That is contractor and employee template. The reason why we've done it like that is for an employee, we need to calculate things like holiday and salary, and you've potentially got sets of onboarding actions. And compared to a contractor, of course, where we don't calculate things like holiday or salary, so that's just quicker for you then to get them into the system. You have also got the option to build your own onboarding templates, and that's how I've built the volunteers, the US, the factory, the island, and this care home template over here. Now, the reason behind the different templates is, generally speaking, in Ireland and the US, we're going to have different public holidays, potentially different holiday calculations, potentially different onboarding actions that you would here in the UK. And the reason behind the factory template is, generally speaking, the factory workers are probably going to need screens like PPE, which is probably going to be slightly different to office staff that probably only need things like company equipment. Factory staff are also probably going to need different mandatory training sessions, which of course is probably going to be slightly different to the office staff. So again, it's just making it easy for you when you're getting people into the system. For today, it's going to be that employee, and we're going to hit next. Now, because we're manually entering the employee into the system, we will need to fill in first and last name. One thing to mention, though, is if you was using that ATS recruitment system we mentioned earlier, then all this information would automatically be populated from the applicant's record. But for today, I'm going to fill it in as Dave Smith. When it asks for an email address, now that could be a work email or a personal email. I recommend you use a personal email. I will explain why. I want Dave to log into my Sense system before start date because I want Dave to sign his contract. I want Dave to attach his right to work, complete his address and bank details, and I also have a medical questionnaire that I need to be completed as well. Now, Dave's going to do all this from a to-do section on his dashboard, and we're going to see what that looks like a little bit later on. Things like telephone numbers and home address, I'm just leaving that blank because, again, I want Dave to fill that in when he first logs into Sense. But I'm not saying you can't fill it in for them. I'm just trying to give Dave a bit more ownership through the onboarding process. Now, that onboarding workflow I mentioned only involves one person, which is the new starter. Where, yes, of course, we want the new starter to sign contract, potentially attach right to work, maybe update bank details, complete other actions that you need them to do. But we also want to include other people within the company as part of that workflow as well. So, yes, we want new starter to complete their actions, But maybe 5 days before the new starter comes on board, then we want something to go to IT, just letting IT know that we've got the new starter joining us in 5 days' time, have we got the company equipment work email address created. Maybe 2 days before that new starter joins as well, you probably want something to go to HR or to that new starter's line manager, just letting them know, hey guys, quick reminder, new starter joins us on Monday. Have we got everything ready for when they come on board? So when we talk about that workflow element in the Sense system, we're never referring to one individual. We are talking about multiple people within the company. And of course, now when I hit next, you will need to enter some other information, which is just going to be job details. In our system, we don't have start dates required because technically you don't always know that. You could be waiting on background checks to be completed. You could just be waiting for this person to get back to you. But when you do know the start date, pop one in. Our system will then do that holiday and salary calculation automatically for you, and the onboarding task we mentioned will then kick into action. Everything else in this list is just a drop-down option. If you don't see your option in the list, all you've got to do is click on Add New. You can add that directly into here. There is no need to cancel the process and go into settings. All cards on the table. I have about 20 Dave Smith. So I'm not going to hit done today, but just to give everyone an idea, and that is how you would get somebody new into the system. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go into one of my active employee records. But just before we do that, I just want to quickly let you all know we do have some direct integrations. So we integrate directly with Xero Payroll, we have direct integrations with Sage Payroll, and we also work with companies such as Trust ID. Of course, we do have other integrations that I will mention throughout the call today, but just from a payroll perspective, we have starters and leavers which can be generated in the Sense system, but then also will automatically update your payroll systems as well. Now, if we come into that employee record here, Amelia, we have a few screens on this left-hand side. Now, we're not going to click into all the screens. We are just going to go into a couple of the screens today. But one thing I want to mention to you is this list here is fully customizable. So if you're looking at that list now thinking, hey, Josh, we don't do vehicle details at our company, that is completely fine. You deactivate that screen in settings and you won't see that on your list at all. But potentially you might look at that and think, okay, we don't do vehicle details for everyone at the company, but I'm pretty sure we do it for those individuals, or I'm pretty sure we do it for that department. Absolutely fine. We keep the screen visible to those who need to see and record, and the ones who don't just wouldn't see it on this left-hand side menu. All the screens are fully customizable. So if you wanted to add in a text field or a drop-down field or an attachment field to a current screen, yes, you can. But you've also got the option to build your own screens, like I've built the medical questionnaire here, and we'll certainly touch on how I've done this towards the end of the demo today. The first screen to really talk about is the overview. So this is a breakdown screen for you as the admin and the employee's line manager. It's giving you a bit of information around that employee without having to go into each individual record. It's giving us their working status, which is working today. It's giving us their holidays past and remaining, but I can see we carried over 3 days from last year, and we also got an extra day from a length of service rule. I can see they've had 8 days of sickness over the last 12 months, and when they're next look at the company to and from times, some of their to-dos, some of their job information, who they report to, telephone numbers, and their line manager. But we're going to go straight to the planner, because each of your employees would have their own personal planner, and this is where their categories of absence will be recorded. Their holidays, their sicknesses, their maternity, paternity, dentist appointments, doctor's appointments, timesheets, and assignments. So if we look across the top, we've got that holiday information past and remaining. We've also got the option again to record toil, time off in lieu, if you do that, of course. And I do also give everyone their birthday day off each year. Again, only examples today. I can see we've had 8 days of sickness, and those 8 days have all fallen on a Friday, and I've got Bradford Factor trigger points, which are going to alert me to those type of sickness events as well. Now, in our system, the Bradford Factor comes as a standard, but it is fully customizable. So you can either use the standard Bradford Factor formula, or you can change that and you can be alerted once one reaches a set number of sickness days or a set number of sickness instances. Or you don't have to use it at all, and you can just deactivate the tool. If you wanted to book any leave, you've got two options. Number one is you click on the day you wish to book off, and number two is you click on the book option here. Because I'm looking at this today as an admin, then I'm not going to book a holiday because you really want the employees themselves to do that. I will book a holiday a little bit later on, but you as the admin would probably add maternity or paternity or a sickness at some point for someone. Now, if you was to add a sickness, you would decide on that sickness reason and then also that follow-on action. If Amelia returned back from 5 days of sick, Do we need a return to work or a self-cert to be completed? Well, if we did, then Amelia's going to do that from the to-do section on her dashboard, and we can see what that looks like a little bit later on. Moving on from there, we've then got personal details, and that is where you would record the employee's first and last names, the dates of birth, the gender, the ethnicity, the nationality information. We have got the birthday reminders in the system, and that can let you know when an employee's up and coming birthday is, and you may wish to wish them happy birthday from our newsfeed. Of course, these are just optional features I'm referring to today. We can also set different rules. When someone reaches 30th, 40th, 50th, or 60th, the system can notify their line manager, and again, we might want to congratulate them from that newsfeed tool. If you was to make any changes to the employee's details, let's say the employee's got in touch and the employee today is Amelia, and let's say Amelia's told us that Amelia's going to get married and the last name will change from Campbell to Smith. And the title, of course, will change here at the top. Now, before we make those multiple changes, we have two options in our system. Option number one is you make the change now. That means it comes into immediate effect and it would go through to things like payroll reports. Option number two is you schedule that change for some time in the future. Now, I've probably not used the best example there, just in case that last name didn't actually happen. So instead, let's think about that promotion. If someone's had a promotion, well, does that mean they have a new job role? Does that mean they have a new line manager? And does it also mean they have a potential salary increase? So you can schedule all the changes for the future, but nothing goes through to the payroll reports until the official change date. But in the meantime, you've still got full audit history here at field level to show that. And yes, you could report the information in bulk as well. We've then also got your employment checks, and this is where you're going to house things like right to works, DBS, passports, and visa information. These screens will be working on expiry dates. We tell the system how many days before, and the system will then prompt us to get that information updated. But of course, who do we want to be prompted? So things like a right to work or a DBS, then we probably want that to go to an administrator and let them know it's due to expire. Whereas if a passport was expiring, then we probably want to let the employee themselves know as well. We've then also got your training information, looking at things like course provider and costs for reporting. We're then also seeing whether these courses are outstanding, completed in progress, are scheduled. Do we also need expiry date reminders on the training courses, and how many days before do we want those reminders to be sent? A certain training course might require 7 days notice, where others might require 30 days just to keep enough time. And do we also want to allow the employees the ability to come into here and to request to attend a training course? So that employee can come in, they can leave you a description of why they wish to attend a certain course, and that could then be sent off for approval. Now, whether that goes to the line manager for approval or to a training manager, we have those options available. You've then got your documents area. We have two types of documents with the system. We have personal documents, which is just in relation to Amelia, the employee, and this is where I would store Amelia's contracts, pay reviews, pay slips, P60s, training certificates. But then you've also got your company documents, which is for everybody, and that's where you'd have things like your company handbooks, policies, procedures, only so they're easy to access. But I would also recommend using Sense as your compliance library. So all your documents that you have, get them into the Sense system. They don't have to be visible to employees and managers. We can purely keep them visible just for that admin access. Take everything away from the filing cabinets, move as much as possible as you can into the Sense system. We're ISO 27001 accredited company, and of course that means we're abiding to GDPR as well. Now, if you wanted to apply a document, you've actually got three options. Now, number one is you could upload it from the computer. Number two is you can use a pre-existing template that you've already got saved in the system. Now, you've probably already got these templates in Microsoft Word or PDF at the moment. All you're going to do is a simple copy and paste exercise. You're going to copy the text from Microsoft Word or PDF as an example, paste it into this field. You're going to pop in your company logos, headers and footers, and then you're going to pop in the mail merge tags from here. What that then means is you've got all these documents, templates saved in the system. So every time you then need to apply it to a new record, you can, but of course you can then make changes to that prior to sending out for read and accept or signature, depending on what type of document this is. And of course, the third option is you can add a link, and that could be things like a URL or a pension provider or a Google Drive document as an example. For today, I'm going to upload a contract, I'm going to browse my files, I'm going to use my new start contract, put that into a category of contracts, and I'm going to hit next. Now, our system will then do that mail merge for you. So things like first and last names, start dates, who they report to, holiday and salary automatically pulls through into the contract. What we do differently here at SenseHR to the rest of the HR providers is we do actual on-document signatures, which is very similar to a DocuSign or a Write signature, if you've used one of those before. What that means is if you to download this taken out of our system, then yes, you've got a signature on there as well. It's not just the IP address, date and time, and of course that's what's going to keep you compliant moving forward. All you need to do is apply who you want to sign the document. For me, it's going to be Amelia, but just to confirm to you, you can have multiple signatures in any document and also specify in which order you need that document to be signed as well. When I then hit next, we now need to decide on the permission. Because I want Amelia to sign the document, then I need Amelia to see it. I definitely don't want Amelia to edit it, and I don't need Amelia to do a read and accept. It just wouldn't make sense asking them to sign a contract, then saying, hey, could you read and accept it at the end? The read and accept is what you would use for things like a company policy or maybe a working from home policy that you need to make sure everyone's seen, but again, you don't want to send them out individually. By me then hitting save, that then applies that contract to the employee's record. It's just sent the employee an email asking them to log into the system to sign that. We're going to log into the employee very shortly to sign that. Before we do that, I just want to quickly point out, you've also got an individual document history, so you can see on every single document who's viewed it, when they viewed it, was it downloaded, was that document ever shared as well. And that's exactly the same that you will see on company documents too. Perfect. So that's a quick run through of what it's going to look like from that administrator level, the admin level. We will log back in towards the end as the admin to run reports and go into settings, but for now, we're going to get logged out and we're going to log in as the actual employee. Everything I'm about to show you now as the employee is exactly the same on the mobile app. So from me booking a holiday to signing a contract, there is nothing differently that I can't do on the app as well. When we do log in as the employee, though, the first thing you'll probably notice is the dashboard looks a little bit different compared to what it did for me as the administrator at the beginning of the demo. We don't want employees to see everything like the admins would. There isn't much point. What we want the employees to see is to-dos, what you want them to complete. Now, just sent a contract for signature. I can click into the contract from here. It takes me directly into the document. And if I'm happy, I can sign it. I've got a couple of options. Number one is I can draw into the box. Number two is I can type, and number three is I can upload a copy I already have. Now, I'm not happy with the terrible signature, but just for the demo of today, I'm going to hit done, hit sign. You've just been notified to let you know that document's completed, and that's now stored here in my personal document area. I can click into that document, I can scroll down, I can see the terrible signature, but I can also download it from here if I wanted to, but I've also got access to any of my other documents from here as well. There is also a couple of onboarding actions that want to complete. So they want me to update my bank details and my contact details, which I can do directly from to-dos. And they also want me to complete a medical questionnaire. Now, I'm not going to do that in the demo today, but I'm just showing you different options, what you could potentially do through those onboarding. Employees would have some visibility of their team, but because they're employees, we have restricted it. We don't want them to see things like maternity or sickness for a colleague, but we do want them to see for colleagues' training. If they've clocked in, are they working from home? Are they working? Is it a non-working day? Are they on holiday? Do you want them to do a clock in, clock out? They can book their own annual leave and that'll send an email off to their line manager for approval. Their line manager then approve that via the email, via the system, or via their mobile app, or via their to-dos. They've also got access to any company news that's been posted and they can comment on that news if you've allowed comments. They would also have access to a main company calendar. We actually give you 3 different calendar options. We give you a list view, which is more of an individual breakdown. So we have first and last name on this column, activity down here, and you've got that view for week, month, and for the year, and you can book your own leave from this page. Or we have a calendar view, which in my opinion looks a bit like a Teams and Outlook. Click on the day, it will tell you the activities, and you can also book your leave from here as well. Option number 3 is what we call the people view, and this is using icons to display when someone's not going to be in. And again, you can book your own leave by clicking on the book option or by clicking on any of the days. And you can also then link these calendars to your normal day-to-day working calendars like your Teams, Slack, Outlook, or Google Calendars, depending on your current preference. Okay, great. So that's how the employees are going to use the system. We have tried to keep that one as user-friendly as possible. Let me show you now what it looks like as a line manager. Everything I'm about to show you as the line manager is also the same on the mobile app. There is no difference at all. When we log in as the line manager, you will notice a change to the dashboard. This time it suits the manager role. They still see to-dos, what we need the manager to complete. We need Ellie to approve a holiday, which we can do direct from here. Ellie needs to sign off on a performance review, but we're not going to do that just yet. And Ellie's also got up and coming one-to-one, which we need to complete for Amelia. Because Ellie's a line manager, we now have full visibility of the team, and we start to see things like maternity and also sickness information. Ellie can also see up and coming events for the team for planning purposes over the coming weeks, and Ellie's also got visibility of her team's outstanding holiday balance. Again, I am on a January to December calendar year. I'm not worrying too much just yet. But when we do get to July, August, if I'm still seeing 30%, then I am going to start posting company news as a line manager, asking my team to get that booked in. Because I'm a line manager, I would have access to some of my team's information, but yes, it has been restricted on what I can see. I can't see their bank details or salary, but if I did click into a team member, then I could enter their holidays and sicknesses, and I could update their training and their one-to-one and performance if given permission to do so. I would also have access to a main company calendar, but because I'm a line manager, then I'm going to see slightly more, and that's going to be things like maternity and sick, whereas the employees only look at annual leave. But I've also got the list view, the calendar view, and the people view. Same as everybody else, I can book my own leave from here, but also link this to my normal day-to-day working calendars as well. Okay, great. So just a bit of a recap on today's session. We've had a look at this as an admin, we've had a look at this as an employee, and we've just looked at it as a line manager. We're going to log back in now as the admin, the super user, and we're going to touch on a couple more features. So we've come back in as the administrator. First thing I want to mention is you can have as many admins on the account as you want. There is no additional cost for that. As the administrator, you would have access to the settings area. And within the settings area, we do have our screen designer tool. A little bit earlier, we went through an onboarding process. I mentioned the two standard templates are contractor and employee, but you've also got the option to build your own templates. And this is where I've done that from my factory, Ireland, and US for volunteers. If I click into one of the onboarding templates, you will then see those screens on that left-hand side menu when we visit Amelia's profile. This is a fully customizable list. So option number one is you can remove screens. Option number two is you can change the layout of screens. Option number three is you can edit current screens. And if I wish to edit the personal details, I click on the word edit here in the top right corner. And I potentially maybe want to record dietary requirements on here. I'm going to come into new fields for dietary requirements. I'd suggest using a drop-down field, drag that onto the screen, position that where I want it to be placed. I can give the screen a name, which is going to be dietary requirements. I fill in the drop-down fields, and then just before I set that to live, I can then preview what that's actually going to look like against the screen. Now, that's me making a change to a current screen. You've also just got the option to build your own screens, just like I have here with the medical questionnaire. And again, the way that's been built into the system is just using that drag and drop exercise. Drag the field onto the screen, depending on what information I want to record. Now, whether you build a screen or whether you edit a current screen, all that information then can be reportable from our reports tool over here on the left-hand side. Now, to build a report, all we do is click on the word create, and we select what we want to report on, which for today is just going to be sickness. I'm going to hit next. By selecting sickness in our system, it automatically selects the fields it believes you want to report on, which it has. I could include more fields like return to work and fit note, but just for today, department location will be enough, and I'm going to hit next. System then pulls through all the sickness information I've ever had. I can now filter this down because you probably don't want to see all sickness. You probably want to see sickness which is today, or this week, or this month, or actually, I want to see sickness which is greater than the 1st, less than the 21st, i.e. payroll, only shows me between the two dates, or I want to see sickness over the last 12 months if the reason equals stress and that department equals customer support, just how they can be filtered down. Now, with any report, you can also order that report. As a prime example, I have event name and reason to start. If I wanted to, I could drag full name to the start of the report and department location. All this means is when I come to export out the system, it exports the correct order it's been built. Once I'm happy, I'm going to hit next. I could save it as a draft and come back to it. I'm going to call it sickness report. When you save that report, then it's going to be over here in your all reports section, but this is where you would find your monthly payroll reports, so timesheets, holidays, changes, salary, sickness. Now, these reports are capturing data from the 1st to the 21st of the month as an example. Then all you need to do is click into that report, export that to a CSV, send that across to currently helps you do the payroll at the minute in time. But just to confirm, we don't charge you for implementation. We don't charge you for telephone live chat support, UK, all based here in the UK, should I mention. And we don't also charge you for online training webinars. But just to finish off today's demonstration, here's that report we put together. A couple of options what I could do. I could filter it down, I could share it, I could export it, CSV, Excel. We've just introduced PDF, and I've also got the option to create charts. And I can use a bar chart for reason of sick, and I can export them out of the system just the same as I can with the standard core data, which is okay, but that's pretty much what all the other HR systems can do. Where Sense is slightly different is we now have a concept that we call Analyze with AMI. We call it AMI, you'll be more familiar to the words of AI. Now, the first versions of AMI that we've introduced into our system is there, of course, to analyze data and provide responses, but it's also there to help you build things like contracts, handbooks, templates, as an example. Now, very quickly, I'll just break down what AMI is doing for me now. It's broken down that 12-month sickness report I provided, and it's provided me with some highlights. So it's given me what's the number of sicknesses across each of the departments, what's been the most common sickness reason, who's had the most sickness days, what's the daily cost of absence for each individual employee, and what's the daily cost of absence affected us across the departments for the board, the HR, the IT team. If I wanted to, I could ask AMI now, can I have the above in a board report? And what AMI is going to be able to do for me now is going to be able to put together a board presentation so I can take the 12-month sickness fines in and I can then present that to the board without me having to do too many manual interventions with the data. Okay, great. So again, that was just a bit of a core Sense demonstration, just trying to touch on some of the key areas of the system. If you'd like to see more of the product, you can find all the contact details at the bottom of this landing page. Thank you very much.